Good morning, evening, everyone, and thank you all for joining us today. My name is Rashmita, and I am the event planner for Microsoft Reactor India. This session will run over the next 60 minutes, including Q&A. But before we begin, please take a moment to read our code of conduct. We are all here to learn together, so please be respectful of other people's views, understanding of differences, being kind and considerate in the way you engage. The chat section will be open throughout, and we do encourage you all to participate. So please feel free to drop all your questions in the chat section. I would now like to welcome Samira, our speaker for today's session. Samira is the Ballerina platform architect at WSO2, and he has been working for 15 years at the WSO2 with diverse range of technologies including Java, Go software update managers, compilers, and Ballerina. But for now, I will hand over to Samira to begin the session. Let me bring him into the stream. There you go. Hi,
Hi, Rashmita. Thank you for the introduction.
most welcome. Let me bring your screen up. There you go. I'll be at the backstage. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm Samir Jayasoma from WSO2. So this talk is about cloud native application development with Ballerina and Azure Functions. So today I'll be talking about Ballerina and Ballerina integration with Azure Functions. All right. So So the before we start, I want to have a quick quick slide about me, and this is my attempt to have a slide about me. Basically, I wrote down a points, and then I asked ChatGPT to come up with a nice, interesting image. This is the best I got from ChatGPT. I thought I should share it with you all at the beginning. It captures certain points, but in a very weird way. So let me go back to the actual points that I would, the things that I want you to know about me. So I am a ballerina platform architect at WSO2. Um, so I I'm working at WSO2 like for 16 years now, like close to 16. Um, I've been contributing to Ballerina language design, platform design, and I was the lead architect and the developer of the Ballerina, the initial compiler. Um, if you want to reach, these are my social handles, and I'm also I like whenever I get some time, I like to go out and take photographs of wildlife and landscape. So hiking, I also like hiking because hiking usually, if you want to reach wildlife or like uh, landscape, you need to go and hike. Otherwise, you can't. Uh, you will see ordinary pictures. Otherwise, you want to go special places, you have to hike. So it's part of the game. Anyway, this is about me. So, quick overview of what I'm planning to cover today. So, I have this small application called Image in Word. So, I'll introduce the application, I'll talk about the architecture. I'm planning to build that application step by step during the next, uh, I assume, 50 to 55 minutes with you all. Uh, and and then uh, I would like to talk about basically I'll be using Ballerina and Azure Functions to build that application completely. So I would like explain why I'm using Ballerina, um, and then I'll talk a bit about Ballerina support for Azure Functions and other Azure capabilities. Then I'll quickly dive into the demo. So that's the plan for today. So this application is very simple. It's just a demo application, but I believe I can cover a lot about Ballerina and Ballerina support for Azure Functions and how you can easily build cloud native applications with Ballerina. So this this application, I have a simple React app, and I'll be using three Azure functions, um, and also I'll be using the blob storage, Cosmos DB, and also OpenAI chat. And it's same as Azure OpenAI as well, but today I'll be talking directly to the OpenAI chat API. Right. So the purpose of the application is you can upload an image, and as soon as you upload an image, you will see a description of that image uh, as tiles. So it's a very simple application. So idea is um, this function, Azure function, will be triggered. So it is HTTP trigger, and then it will basically upload that image to the blob storage. So it's a simple HTTP trigger, that's and then output binding to blob storage, and then there's another function. So whenever there's an image available in the storage, this function will be triggered, and then it uses OpenAI APIs to generate interesting description of the image. And once that description is available, we will post that description to the Cosmos DB. So that is the output binding. And then the third one, I'll move this away. The third one basically is an sort of API to retrieve all the image descriptions from the database, right? And then this application should be able to like show all the images that you have uploaded. It's a simple application, but let's see how it goes. So I'll be using Ballerina programming language to implement all these three um, Azure functions. So that's the plan. All right. So I'm not sure whether you have heard about Ballerina before. Um, so Ballerina is a cloud native programming language. And if you go to the website, ballerina.io, you would see the messaging um, saying it's a cloud native programming language, and it is optimized for integration. So I'll explain those two terms during the course of the session today. So why do we say Ballerina is cloud native? It is cloud native because we in the language there are a lot of high level abstractions that you don't normally see in other languages. For example, a service, a client, a network interaction, a network friendly type system. So all of these things that are required, or that will make it easy to develop applications, modern applications, they are all part of the language. For example, uh, typically in programming languages, let's say object oriented language, you see classes, you see functions, variables as sort of abstractions. In addition to that, in Ballerina, you would see abstractions like services, network clients, and things like that. So we will talk about those examples pretty soon. Then the language type system is designed so that it can describe messages coming over the wire uh, uh, like very easily. You don't have to think about like serializes, marshalling, unmarshalling, um, network payloads into data types. They are like automatically handled. And whenever you describe, let's say you're writing a Ballerina application, Ballerina service, and you can describe the format of the data that you want to basically interact with the other service, and these types you can then easily convert it to like service description specifications like Open API, GraphQL. Let's look at some of these examples as well. The language design, it is data-oriented language. What that means is, uh, compared to certain other languages, it's very easy to deal with data and process data in Ballerina. So it comes with, so if you're familiar with Link, that are part of C Sharp, we Ballerina comes with similar, syntactically similar language integrated queries, but their semantics are different from other languages. They're specially designed to work with pure data. The graphical aspect is, whenever you write a Ballerina program, you can uh, visualize the program as a sequence diagram. So language syntax is specially designed so that whenever you have network interactions in your program, you can visualize those network interactions as a sequence diagram. I'll show a demo as well. So concurrency is built in. We have lightweight uh, concurrency model, lightweight concurrency constructs we call strand. You can compare strands with, let's say, Go routines like new Java virtual threads, right? Um, yeah, reliability and maintainability. I'll talk about them during the demo. So the language is completely open source. We have uh, the compiler and even the language specification is maintained in open source projects. If you visit um, Ballerina dash platform, you get to see all the repositories there. And so when you compile a Ballerina program, what you get right now is a jar file, because a Ballerina compiler produces JVM bytecodes, and then we package all the bytecodes as a jar. Um, so you can, and it's a self-contained jar. You just need a JVM to run it. That's all. So you can run anywhere. That's by default. That's part of JVM. And we also have a plan. We are working on writing a native compiler for Ballerina, so that will produce platform-specific executables, just like uh, Go, C, C++ like languages. Um, so uh, during my demo, I'm going to talk more about Balna features, but these are some of the things that I won't be able to show today. So here, as you can see, this is VS Code, right? And then this is a complete application. This application has multiple components talking over the network. It's a complete cloud native application. There's a front end and there's a bunch of other services. So this whole application is written in Ballerina except for the front end, obviously. And my point here is, when you write your application in complete application in Ballerina using different components, Ballerina can visualize the complete application. What are the interactions between the components? Each component is a separate service running in a Docker container. So this image is a development time image. This is the application architecture view. It shows network. It shows the interactions between these services. All these are possible due to the abstractions available in the language. Not just the service abstractions, we can also visualize like what are the resources, HTTP. If your services are HTTP, then individual HTTP resources available. There are verbs, and let's say for each resource, as you can see here, say get metadata resource connects to two other services, cart service and concurrent currency service. Likewise, you can drill down into various views. So this is a good way to validate your application. And this picture is not a generated image. It's like looking at the code, but in a different way, right? So we use this term called code is the picture and picture is the code. What that means is Ballerina can always maintain this bidirectionality between code and the picture, so that will never go out of sync. It's not a hand drawn like diagram that will usually go out of sync, but this picture stays with the code. It is another representation of the code. All right, so I have a few more slides and then we can move on to the demo. um, so as I said earlier, when you compile the Ballerina program, you get a jar file, self-contained jar file. So we have the command line tool called Bal. When you install Ballerina, um, using a ballerina.io website. Uh, when you install, you get this command line tool called Bal, and there are various subcommands here. I'm using Bal build to compile, and then you get a jar. Then you can use Bal run, that jar file, to run the service or run any Ballerina application. This is just a self-contained executable. Then we we are making it easy, like for example, to generate even a graal VM native image um, for your Ballerina application. um, to do that, we have basically made all Ballerina of libraries maintained by Ballerina uh, platform graal VM compatible or graal VM compatible. So you, if you use any of the Ballerina libraries, you should be able to generate a graal VM native image for your application. Um, the other capability here is whenever you develop a Ballerina program, you can use this balbuild dash dash cloud equals docker command to easily generate a container, Docker container, Docker image, a Docker file. These are some handy tools that you can use during the day-to-day development. These are developer tools. Uh, you may not use Docker files as it is in the production, so you may inject some more fields, some more things like that. So, but they are handy developer tools. Just like Docker, we have Kubernetes support as well. When you use balbuild dash dash cloud equals k8s, we Ballerina generates you the necessary Kubernetes artifacts so that you can deploy your application in Kubernetes. Right, this is that. We also have native support for like certain serverless platforms like AWS Lambda, Azure Functions. Um, so these are screenshots I took from the Ballerina website. Um, so you can, if you're interested, you can take a look at ballerina.io. So this page lists like what are the supported triggers, output bindings and input bindings in Azure Functions. Right. So I'm happy to say that Ballerina also like integrated deeply into the Azure Functions VS Code plugin. This VS Code plugin is right. If you look at like if you want to, I'll show this during my demo. When you want to create Azure function using Azure Functions VS Code, you can see Ballerina as a supported language among other languages here. Um, so you can easily use Ballerina. All right, I think it's time for the demo. All right, so this is, as I explained earlier, this is my application. I'm trying to build it step by step. Uh, for some cases, I won't be writing code. I can basically paste certain segments, code snippets here and there to save time. So I'll explain this again, like in case someone misses. So I'm building a single simple web app. Whenever you upload image, uh, you will see it will generate a nice little description of the image, and you can upload as many images, and then it will show all the images that you have uploaded with an image with the description. So the idea is we have three Azure functions here. The first one is triggered by HTTP. when you upload an image, it will save that image into the blob storage, and every file that is added to the storage will trigger this function. uh, It'll use OpenAI to generate a description, and then along with the description, it'll basically save an entry to this database. And then we have, when you refresh a page, it'll basically retrieve all the pictures from the DB with their descriptions. That's a simple image. So I drew this design without all the other like little details like API management, things like that, so that I can explain it in simple terms. All right, I'll move to VS Code for the demonstration. So I have already installed Ballerina. So let me do a Bal version here. So I'm using Ballerina Swan Lake, this version, and I have already installed Ballerina VS Code plugin. Let me quickly show you that. So this is the Ballerina VS Code plugin. If you want to download, you can set it up even now. You can download Ballerina using ballerina.io website. Um, there are instructions for you to follow, and then it'll be quick and easy. All right. So this is, I hope you can see my the font sizes should be okay. If not, please comment. I'm also looking at the comment section time to time. So this is a simple hello world. I'll quickly run it. You can just use bell run, and you see hello world. It's a simple. It's always good to write hello world first before you move on to complicated examples. All right. So just a bit about Ballerina here. Just like any other language, Ballerina has modules where you can access shared libraries. So here, this IO is a library, and I am invoking a function called println in that IO library. So way to do that is IO colon. Whenever I do IO colon, I can see all the functions that are available in that module. So before you use a module, usually you have to import the module. So a module has a mod. You can uniquely identify a module using three parts. The first one is organization name. In this case, organization name is Ballerina, because they are officially released by Ballerina platform. Um, and then this is a module name. This is the organization name, module name, and version is not here. Version usually we capture in a file called dependencies.toml. If you look at it here, the version is 160. So you don't have to think about versions, like you just write code, and whenever you build it, we figure out the versions, and we create the file. This is like auto generated, nothing to worry about. There, if you want to control versions, there are obviously places where you can configure exact version you need, but that's beyond the scope of the talk today. So yeah, so that's about hello world. So the other thing about Ballerina is, like, this is, you can write hello world in any language. So let me delete this. So my first attempt today is to write a simple HTTP service, where you can upload a image, as in you can just give as an input, you can pass the URL, and we will use some OpenAI APIs to describe that image. So this is a simple HTTP, not Azure Functions first. I'll convert that into an Azure function later. So we have a construct called service in the language. As you can see, a services can bind to multiple listeners. A listener is typically a protocol like It can be an email, file, GraphQL, gRPC, HTTP, Kafka. These are all us built into the Ballerina platform. So as libraries, so these are all the services. My plan is to use the HTTP listener here. So there are two ways to write services. One is if you remember the syntax, you can start like this. If not, we have this handy tool where you can design your service interface. So here I'm adding a service, and I say my base path. Let's see. Um, let's say describe. I want to describe images, and the port is 8080, just 8081. Let's say, and save. You can see the code is being generated here, and then I have a service. So probably I want to make this service a post, and the resource path should be images. Right, let me save it, and it's updated now. I have a service with base path describe, and it has a resource post resource called images. So now I need to figure out like the payload, the type of the payload, as well as um, the type of the return. So I have I have basically sample payloads. Let me copy them over here. Right. So I have two sample payloads. One is the request payload. This is the format. This is the payload, request payload, and this is sort of the response payload, right? So in the request payload, as you can see, you have a name field. This is a JSON, and with the URL, right? An image of a cat and the name of the file. And the response, what I'm trying to build here is, then we need to figure out this response, like the image URL and the brief description of the image. So it's usually our recommendation in Ballerina is whenever you want to work with like JSON, XML, like payloads, our recommendation is to convert that JSON payload into a Ballerina record. Ballerina record, you can think of a Ballerina record type as like canonical format for all network message formats. Like you can convert a JSON into a record type, XML into a record type, even a CSV format into a record type, and then you manipulate, you process that record. You can transform it into a different form, and then you can convert it back to JSON before you send. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use this payload, and I'm going to generate a record using the tools without writing it by hand. So I'm going to use this component. Let's see, record. I'm going to import the sample JSON here. Right, this is my sample, and I'm going to say this is image request, the payload name of the payload, and save. So that should generate me a simple Ballerina record type. Right, we have records in Ballerina. Right, so I can use it here, and I would say payload. That is the input to the service. Now I want to basically return the output. So I'm going to use this response payload. I'm going to go here, and again, same process. Let's say image response, right? And save, finish, and I'll close this. As you can see, I have two record types generated. These records, they represent basically the response format. See, ID field, ID here. It's the same representation in Ballerina. So I'm going to return this from the service. Um, so let's say in this is called a union type in Ballerina, because this service sometimes can, uh, let's say I'm going to do some execution steps here. Uh, Sometimes these steps can fail, sometimes they will succeed. If something goes wrong, I'm going to return error. If everything looks okay, I'm going to return image response. So that error, basically errors are explicit in Ballerina. um, or in Ballerina, all the functions, uh, we don't have a concept called exceptions. We have a concept called errors, and errors are explicit. Basically, you will have to return errors from functions, um, and that is the recommended model in Ballerina. So here is a way to represent that sometimes this function can give you the expected result, sometimes it will give you an error. So it's explicit. All right. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to simply, um, so this is um, GitHub Copilot trying to help me. Um, let's see what I can do. So I'm going to create an image response, right? Now I have to use the ID. So for the ID, I'll use the payload.name for now. Let's say is dog is false. I'm just hard coding. And image URL is is going to be the payload.url. Uh, and I'm giving a random description, and I can return the response. Right, that's it. That's a simple service I wrote. Um, let's run this. So you can click on the run button. It'll start the execution, and then the port 8081 will be open. Now I can try it. When I try it, I get this Swagger UI like view, where I can see everything, the complete URL, and also all the resources that are there. Right now we have only one resource, so I'm going to say try it, and then let's see. I'm going to use the request JSON, sample request JSON. I'm going to paste it here, right? And I'm going to send it, and I should get a response back. Okay, response is 201. That looks good. And yeah, so this is the response I got. It's exactly what I wrote here, right? I need ID as the payload name, is dog false, image URL is the payload URL and the description is this is a cat. Um, so this is a simple, I just want to show you how do you write an HTTP service in Ballerina. I can make it, now I hard coded the description, and I'm going to use OpenAI APIs now, because I'll be using all this code when I convert this into a uh, Azure functions later. So what we're writing, and I'm going to reuse that part as well, because if you remember, in this application, I have to use OpenAI anyway, right? So I'm going to demonstrate that here, how to use OpenAI APIs using Ballerina, and then I'm going to reuse that later in the demonstration. So the first thing is to import OpenAI connectors. So in Ballerina, we have, if I go to Ballerina page, we have a shared package repository called, say, Ballerina Central. Um, Here you can find all Ballerina packages, especially the official packages, or any packages that are contributed by the community. There are a bunch of packages that you can you can search and figure out. So let's say I'm going to search about Azure using the keyword, and you can see uh, there are a bunch of connectors or libraries, SDKs that you can use to connect to Azure services. Here, Azure OpenAI Text, Event Hub, Key Vault, Azure Functions, Active Directory, things like that. So, a lot. Uh, Ballerina has official support for a lot of Azure services. So, what I'm looking for is OpenAI. So so there are we have a bunch of OpenAI connectors. So I'm going to use this OpenAI chat um, module, right? So this is what I'm going to do. So let's see. I'm going to go back to my app. Uh, I this is the easy way to like do the same search that I did in here. I have this connector capability. I'm going to click and say OpenAI. So my point is this Ballerina packages, Ballerina Central, they are all deeply integrated to the Ballerina ecosystem. They are not afterthoughts because Ballerina is what we called is batteries included language, where we have a built-in package management concept, built-in test framework, built-in documentation framework, most of the things that you want to develop modern applications. So I'm going to use this OpenAI chat. Click. It'll basically download, and it'll basically give me the client uh, that I want to use. I'm going to click save, right? So I can see that here. Now I only need to have the token here, right? Um, Otherwise, I should be able to use this. And I'm going to rename this Open AI Chat. So let's say for the token, I don't want to hard code the token. Uh, and also, I don't want to show my token there as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Ballerina way to externalize configurations. We call it configurable variables. Let's say OpenAI key equals like this. So it is a type, it's the string type. All right, so semicolon. Now I can give a default value here. If the default value is there, then even if the value is not available, the program will work. If the default value is not there, a question mark says it is mandatory, then you have to pass this value before you run the program. Right? I'll show you that as well. So I'm going to use this OpenAI key here, right? Now, when I try to run this program again, it will say there are mandatory configurable variables if you can run anyway. But what happens when you run, because I haven't like configured the way to pass this variable even during the development time, it will probably fail. Yeah, the program should fail. I'll use this option to say create config.toml. Config.toml, it's basically part of the Ballerina package here. During the development time, you can put the key, whatever the key you like, and then now when you run, the program should work without issues. But the key is wrong, right? So it's running. It's okay. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to copy the config.toml here. I don't want to show the key. I think you've already. This is. Let's see. Let me rename this to config.toml. All right. So the key is there. So then what I'm going to do is I have this OpenAI chat. So I'm going to use that connector. So in Ballerina, this is a net, this is a client. This OpenAI chat is a client. A client usually represent external services that you, as in network services. Uh, in those clients, there can be, if it's HTTP service, then there are, in that external service there are network resources. There are resources, can be post, get, put, post, delete resources. So you can access them using this arrow syntax, um, because they are not like function calls. We in the language design, we represent, we want to like be explicit about that you are basically connecting to an external service, a resource in external service. So we invented a different syntax, right? So here I'm connecting, I'm doing a post to this resource path. That's the idea here, right? Um, so this is, if this is the first time you are looking at Balna code, um, I mean, we have documentation that explains all this. So once you start using Balna, I mean, you will get a quick, good understanding about this syntax. Don't worry about them right now. So when I click on the completion resource, it will take me to the basically documentation plus implementation of the module. And I'm supposed to pass this create completion request to this resource, and I'll get this completion response. So let me quickly copy this here. And I'm going to create that payload. Let's say chat request. I'm going to simply initialize to empty record for now. And this is part of the chat module, right? So that looks okay. It's empty, but let's leave it for now. So I'm gonna paste it here. That is the input. Now it says I need, if you look at the error, it says variable assignment is required. So that's a rule in Ballerina. If any function returns something, we have to basically declare variable and use it. So here, let's take a moment to observe what it says. So we have um, a network interaction, and I'm passing a request, and it's giving me a response and an error. So what happens is, the idea is simple. Um, if everything goes well, you will get the response. If there are an error, like it can be a connection error, service error, you may get an error. So errors are explicit in Ballerina. Sometimes you can handle the error then and there, or if you just like what is shown here, or if you want to pass the error, you can use this check expression in Ballerina, right? And what happens here is when you do check, if there is an error, it will simply return this check will simply return the function with an error, right? So the caller of this resource will get an error. So that's the idea. I'll say this chat response, right? That's good. And this chat response should contain the image description. I'll explain. So let's say description and choices dot. These are all OpenAI APIs. So that's nothing new here. So the problem here is on my left hand side, I have a string, but the type of this expression is string question mark. This is again coming from OpenAI. It sometimes gives you the content, sometimes it doesn't give you the content for some reason. So this is like a nullable, like an optional string, nullable string. You can think of it either way. So sometimes you get a value, sometimes you don't have value. So that state is represented like this in Ballerina. But for my case, it has to be a string all the time. So what I'm doing here is, if it is nil, I'm using this operator, like to say give me like a no description available message. If there are if 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 there is no description, then you will see this message. So that's good. So I'm going to use this description here instead of the hard coded one, I think. And also I'm going to say is dog description includes the word dog. If the description includes the dog, that's simple enough for the demo, right? Now we need to figure out this request. So this is again OpenAI samples. I'm just copying it here. I don't want to type it due to the time. So if you just take a moment to like read the request, I'm saying the model vision preview, and then I'm giving some prompts here like what's in this image, and I'm giving the image URL as well. So I'm using the latest GPT-4 version where I can combine text and images. I should probably get the description now. I think this looks okay. One quick thing is before I try to run it, I can visualize the code. So you can see when I visualize the code, you can see the code in a different way, right? This is the graphical aspect I was talking about earlier. The language is designed so that it can visualize the code you write. So we are improving on this aspect right now, but most importantly, you can always see all the network interactions. So if I'm connecting to different services, you should be able to see all different network services as actors and the network interactions, right? Let me quickly run this. Right, it is running, and I'm gonna try it here. Let me get the request. All right, I'm gonna try this sample payload. This URL is working, by the way. You can try it if you want. It's waiting. All right, let's see what we got. We got the response saying a cat. It describes the image in a funny way. Okay, so that's a simple service, simple HTTP service in Ballerina. So I'm going to use the same code in the next demo as well to Azure Functions, right? So that's why I spent time and explaining a little bit about Ballerina syntax, philosophy, record generation, configurability, connecting to different systems, and things like that, right? Okay, so let's move on to Azure Functions. So this is my plan. I won't be writing like all the code just like I did in the previous example. So let's write a simple Azure function in Ballerina. So the way to start that is you can use this VS Code command, and then I have installed all Azure functions and other Azure plugins, and I have already signed into the account, my account, right? So these are everything. If you probably you would have to do the same thing. So I'm trying to create a let's see. So I'm trying to create a function, and it'll be HTTP trigger. Let's use the default name as it is for now, because I don't. Yeah, and then anonymous level, anyone can import it. So, and it'll give me a Ballerina code. So if you take a moment to basically read what's here, we have a service called HTTP trigger. Let's say hello with the base path. right? We have a listener here, HTTP listener, especially it's Azure Functions listener. So what I'm going to do is this. I think this module prefix is too long, so I'm gonna rename it to AF, and then I can use AF everywhere like this, right? So this is Azure Functions HTTP listener, and I'm using that listener. I'm binding this service to that listener, and there's one resource. Here I'll say hello. I need to hello greeting, and I'm passing the name as a query parameter. This is a query parameter in Ballerina. So I think this simple version is ready. So let's try to build Azure function locally, um, and let's locally execute before deploying onto the cloud, right? So I build it. As you can see, there is this get hello greeting function. I'm gonna say F5, so it should probably run it in my local machine. Okay. Let's try it again. Not sure what's going on. Trying to build again. Looks like a problem with the connection. All right. That should be fine. Let's try to deploy this into the cloud. Deploy to function app. I have already created Azure function app behind the scenes, storage, um, and everything, so that I can save some time. So let's see whether this will work. Okay, it's deploying to the cloud. These are all the logs. It's creating. So whenever you do this with Ballerina, it's because the Ballerina is integrated to the Azure Functions plugin. It will create the zip file and it will upload it to the cloud, the functions zip. It will take some time. So this is a simple service that I want to show you, like Ballerina and Azure function capabilities. So the deployment looks like it is successful. Let's wait until I can see the URL, the new URL. Should be good now. Deployment. Okay, so I'm going to copy this URL. As you can see, hello is the base path, greeting is the resource, right here. And I'm going to go to the browser. One thing is I need to pass this name. Let's say Azure. Yep, I got hello Azure. So that is hello.name. It's a simple service. So similarly, if I open my image here, so the next one I would like to develop is the image upload capability. I have it's a very simple one. What happens there is let me copy that file over to this side. If I go back to the image, this function will be triggered by HTTP and it will directly write the output to the blob storage. So let's look at that for a moment. So it's the same as Azure function listener here, and / describe is the base path. This time it is a post resource with the images as the resource path. It will take bytes as the input and the image name. So the bytes will be the image in bytes, and the name of the image. So this is basically the input. This is triggered by Azure Functions HTTP trigger. Now it is what happens here is we are simply returning it. And here I have done it. I have basically said um, the blob output as the output. So what happens is it is returning the byte. These byte will directly saved in this path, in this storage called images, using the name using the name. So this is, I think, pretty standard in all languages, SDKs in Azure Functions, right? So this is the this function. Now, then what happens is whenever a file available in blob storage, I need a trigger, so that will basically talk to OpenAI, get the image from the storage, talk to OpenAI, generate the description, and then write that entry to Cosmos DB, right? So that's the next one. So I'll quickly show you that as well. Um, so I can basically publish all the code in a GitHub repository, so you can refer later. So if you look at at a high level, here is that function. So here this function will be triggered by a blob trigger uh, under this path, right? Under this storage. Whenever there is a new image is available, this path, this service will be triggered. Basically, this remote function here will be invoked, right? So you are getting image as bytes here, and also the image name, right? These are standard annotations. And then we do some processing inside, right? And then once that processing is done, we are returning the image description, and the image description is saved uh, here. It's in Cosmos DB. This is like standard way you can provide the connection string, database name, and collection, right? So if you look at the image description, this is same as what we did before, um, right? So let's expand the code. I'm doing a log. Then I'm calculating the image URL based on the Azure storage account that I have. These are all straightforward calculations. And then I am instantiating the OpenAI chat, just like I did before in the first um, sample. And I'm creating the chat completion request. I use the image URL here. So this is dynamic. I can. This is basically the URL of the image that is stored in the blob storage, and then I get a response just like before. I extract the description, right, and then I create the entry, the JSON document that I want to store in the Cosmos DB, right? And then I'm returning it. So when I return it, it will go to the Cosmos DB and to this container in this database, right? So that is that. So if I go back to the image, then the last one I need is, again, sorry, one more thing. I can also like visualize this image. If I you will see the same picture here, right? There's no difference. It's same Ballerina code. So the last one I need is a way to get all the image description stored in Cosmos DB, right? That is also a very simple function. I have the HTTP trigger. I have the input binding. So let me copy that as well. This is that file. So I have three functions. First one is the describe image, where I am uploading an image to the blob storage. The second Azure function is triggered by every blob entry, and then we are putting the output to the Cosmos DB. The third one is basically I'm using the term dashboard. It is again a get function, sorry, get resource with the resource path images. It is returning an array of descriptions, and I'm right. So this is has HTTP output and Cosmos DB input. So these are all, I think, um, Azure function terminology. I have a trigger, that is, the trigger will trigger this function, and also I'm getting this input because it is right. I'm getting this input here. Input is the complete array of images stored in the DB, and then I'm returning these images. So they're all HTTP output. So that will go to the UI. Uh, that will go to the UI, and I can see all the images. So I have everything here. Let's try to deploy this to the function app. All three services together, all three apps together. Right? I'm gonna override everything. Give it a few seconds. Once the complete function is deployed, we can go to the UI and see the app in live. It'll take a few seconds to upload the package. So as I think I can also like show you that I'm using these configurable elements in this function, OpenAI key and the storage account name. I have used them here, storage account name, that depends on the app, and also the OpenAI key, right? So I have configured them in my Azure function application beforehand. I think it's deployed now. I can see all the functions. So let's go to the app, right? If I refresh, let's see whether there are any issues. So there are no issues here. Good looking HTTP status codes. Now I can upload an image. I have a bunch of images here. Let's see. I'm going to upload it. Let's see whether there are any errors, just in case. So upload is successful. It'll take a few seconds to generate an image. Yeah, what I can see. Okay, I got a description for that image. Um, it says precisely describes the image. So let's add few more things here. Um, Refresh. I'm gonna add my image as well. Why not? And then I'm gonna few more things. So some more images. Let's see what I'm getting. Okay. Yep. I'm getting all the images. Okay. So that's about the sample app. It's very simple. I just want to show you um, simple app written using Azure functions, and all these functions written in Ballerina, and I'm integrating to sorry, integrating to a bunch of other capabilities in Azure, as well as OpenAI chat, right? If you have any questions, please reach out to me or post it to the comment. Okay, I can see a bunch of questions. I guess I'll spend um, few more minutes answering the questions. Um, so This question is from Harry. Is this supported on other platforms like AWS and GCP? Yes, uh, we have especially the AWS support. You can check out ballerina.io /learn, um, and you should be able to find documentation about the support. There's another question from Harry. What versions of the JDK are supported? So in Ballerina, we have bunch of Ballerina Swan Lake update versions from update 1 to update 7. We support Java 11. From update 8, that is the latest update that we have released, from update 8 onwards we are supporting Java 17, and we have a plan to support Java 21 in the future as well. um, I'm answering the next question from Harry. Can Ballerina integrate with Java Spring? um, yeah, sorry. So Ballerina, as I said earlier, Ballerina is um, runs on the JVM. So we have a way to interrupt uh, with Java, as in Java interoperability layer is there. You can, and there are tools to, if you give the Java code, we can generate everything that you need to interrupt with Java. So that is possible. Does it integrate with Java build tools like Maven or Gradle? Right now, uh, there's no direct integration to Gradle or Maven. What we have is Bell. Bell is like a build tool, just like Maven or Gradle, but that is specially designed for Ballerina. But you can have a Maven or Gradle build. Within that build, you can have one or two Ballerina packages here and there, and that way you can build Ballerina packages using Gradle. Right? That is possible. The other this question is again from Harry regarding debug capability in Ballerina. Is the interactive debug in VS Code? Yes, we do. Um, so this is possible. It is possible to debug. It's like you put a debug just like any other language and start debugging. Here you can send a request when the service is up and running, um, and then a debug point will hit and you can debug, right? Just like yeah. All right. Why a special data format instead of JSON or protobuf? So I think the point I was trying to make is it's not a special data format. It's like you can easily work with you because Ballerina has a type called JSON. I think that I didn't talk about that today. We have native support for JSON in Ballerina, so you can write something like this. So this is valid in language. What am I writing? Sorry. And then, yeah. So JSON is natively supported in Ballerina. I'm saying JSON is a data type just like string in Ballerina. And XML is also an, a native data type in the language. So you can have like like this, and then you can query. So JSON, XML are part of the language. The point I was trying to make is because they are dynamic, as in you don't know what fields that are there in the JSON or XML. We recommend converting JSON or XML payloads into Ballerina records within the program. They're like program types, and then that's what I'm doing here. I'm sending a JSON response to OpenAI, but I'm creating a Ballerina record, and Ballerina will automatically convert the record into JSON underneath. You don't have to worry about it. And then the response comes as record again, and then you manipulate using records, because one, you know everything. I mean, you know all the types and their fields that are available at the compile time, so you can write type safe code if you use this format, if you use Ballerina record. That's actually the point that I want to make. What is the second question? I'll take a few more minutes. What is the status of N Ballerina? So N Ballerina is in progress, but it's the progress. We are slowly progressing on that. We don't have an immediate plan for 1.0. We are primarily focusing on Ballerina Swan Lake, which runs on Java right now. Our primary focus is uh, on that. We're like working on that, promoting the language, talking about it in the forums like these, uh, things like that. And then under the hood, we are working on in Ballerina, but it will take some time at the current rate. So, what is the open source license? The license is Apache 2. Um, uh, so the next one is, can you integrate with Ballerina Dev? Yeah, with CI/CD tools. Yes, you can. Um, you can integrate Ballerina builds to GitHub Actions and things like that. Shouldn't be a problem. Um, I think there's final question from Harry. This is about Ballerina records. If we can bring that question to onto the screen, that would be great. That's the last question. Yeah. So the question is about. I think what I'm asking. I'm so so Ballerina record is not a data format per se. It is basically how Ballerina represent any data format. It's just Ballerina native. It's just a Ballerina type. Probably we can, if you are interested, we can. You can post this question on Ballerina records in our Discord channel. Um, I'll get back to you. We can have a conversation on that. I think I think that would be better. Thank you, Harry, for all your questions. Um, so I think that's it. Here are some resources if you like to get involved um, in Ballerina. Uh, and thank you.
Thank you, Samira. I think there are two more questions if you would like to take them. Uh, there
Yeah,
is,
sure. Yeah.
yeah, so I'll just get them for you. Yeah.
Oh, that's an interesting question. um, so so the motivation behind creating a language called Ballerina. So if you, I guess I'll have to talk a little bit about W0 as well, to answer that. W0 is a company. We started building enterprise middleware, like enterprise integration bus, API management, identity solutions, and especially in the enterprise integration, um, uh, that the design, basically you can compose your enterprise integrations using WSO2 enterprise integrator, and then we serialize your integration into XML format, and then you work with the DSL. So that's our existing enterprise integrated product. So we back in 2016, 2015, we wanted to come up with the actual language to represent all your integrations. Because XML based DSLs or any DSL in that matter, they're not developer friendly. So we wanted to build a language to build integrations that is like sort of we want to give a developer friendly experience. So that's how we started working on Ballerina. It started as a language just for integration, but we ended up building a complete language in that process. Um, and if you're interested, there's a talk about uh, on this question that go deep into like why Ballerina is a new language, why it is not a framework on top of existing language. So I can answer all that questions. We have a nice video on that. I can share probably if you're interested. Um, there are more questions, which is good. So, what language is used for creating Ballerina packages? So, if you take a peek at all these packages, first thing you would see that all these packages are written in Ballerina, and some of these packages are written in Ballerina and Java. So the percentage changes the depending on the package. For example, if it's HTTP, then you would see all the APIs and some implementation is Ballerina, but the underlying engine is Netty. We are using Netty because Netty is a proven HTTP framework, so we are using Netty underneath. So likewise, you would see a mixture of Ballerina and Java in all the libraries. So the EDI question, uh, it is true. You can Ballerina is a nice model for working on EDA based applications because of the services. Uh, you can easily design and represent webhooks using Ballerina. So, and yeah, that's true. So yeah, I think I'll share that video. We have article as well. That's the last question. So in my talk, the term cloud native, I used that in a different context, as in uh, Ballerina as a language. Why I introduced Ballerina as a cloud native language. What I meant by that is Ballerina has these capabilities to write cloud native applications. Like uh, one thing is the language abstractions, like services, and then you can easily write applications that connects to the network, connects with other network services. And the second thing is because of these abstractions that are in the language, we can easily generate Docker containers, Kubernetes, Azure function, artifacts, and things like that. They are all part of this story. All right, I'll find that video and post it, Harry. Is there any other questions I missed? Sorry, I
Okay.
yes, you can. Yeah, you can. That's the last question. You can run Ballerina code standalone on a JDK. For example, when you do bal build, we generate a jar file, and that is a standalone jar file. You can run it on Java 17. That's all you need. You don't need any other. You don't need to add anything onto the class path, things like that. Um, you could write a UI application in Ballerina, but you would have to use you would have to interrupt with Java Swing APIs. But Ballerina does not have capabilities to write UI applications as of right now. Can you reverse engineer Java code into Ballerina code? Uh, I if I correctly, I mean, if I understood your question correctly, what you are saying is, if you can I transform Java code into Ballerina? Is that I guess that's what you meant. Um, so Ballerina and Java, they both are C style languages. So the syntax are similar. You see a for loop, while loop, assignment, but their semantics are very different. Um, like Java has classes, Ballerina has classes. Java has implementation inheritance, but Ballerina does not have implementation inheritance. So I have to think about it. I don't see a straightforward way to do that. Okay, Java bytecode into Ballerina. Um, I have to think about it. I'm not exactly sure whether you can get any Java bytecode and convert that to Ballerina. Because when you write Ballerina code, we generate that bytecode in a separate way so that we can preserve Ballerina language semantics and things like that. But I'm not sure whether we can take any Java bytecode and convert. Looking at the last question, trying to understand. So, if you could import Java bytecode into Ballerina and use your oh yeah, I have to think about it. I'm not so sure that we have a straightforward way, yeah, to visualize Java bytecode in Ballerina visualizer. Yeah, as I said earlier, there are semantic differences. So yeah, I have to think about it. Yeah, yeah, yes, that's true. All right. Um, Not sure whether I missed any questions. No worries. Thank you for asking many questions. Interesting conversation.
I think that's about it. And we are ready to wrap up the show for today. In case Harry and anybody else, if you have any further question, please feel free to reach out to Samira. You'll find his handle on our meetup page. Thank you once again, Samira, for hosting an amazing session, and thank you all for joining us today. To find out more about Microsoft for Startup, just scan the QR code. You'll see how Microsoft for Startup Founder Hubs help startups speed up innovation by giving access to top AI services, expert advice, and the essential technology to build a future proof startup. With this, we come to the end of the show. Thank you all once again and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you for the opportunity to talk. Microsoft Reactor Bangalore. Thank you.
Thank you, Samira. Bye.
Bye.